Keys to victory for the Miami Hurricanes. Keys to victory. And I think I went over this before the Florida game, and it really isn't going to be much different when you talk about it and when you think about it. Let's jump in and let's talk about what are the three major keys to the Miami Hurricanes putting a beat down on the Florida State Seminoles in Tallahassee. What do the Canes have to do? What do they have to avoid? And what are the things they have to watch out for? Welcome back, everyone, to another edition of Hurricanes Unfiltered, powered by Come On Now, the podcast. We talk facts and feelings. I'm your host, Rudy Rodriguez Showmont. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell, leave a comment. Appreciate all y'all jumping on board this hurricane train, man, and supporting our channel. I appreciate you. I thank you. If you haven't done so yet, go over to our social media. Hit us up on Instagram at Hurricanes Unfiltered, and Come On Now, the Come On Now podcast. We have two Instagram channels handles, so go check out short videos there, and we do drop shorts here as well. And also, if you're into combat sports, you can go check out our channel at Combat Corner Fight Network. So check it out at Combat Corner Fight Network. We do cover BKFC, UFC, PFL, boxing, etc. But we got on tap this week. We got Hurricanes, Florida State. Hate week, baby. ESV, excitement, swarming, violence. I keep stressing that violence, man, because I want to see a lot of violence. And when we talk about this game, when we look at this rivalry, Miami Hurricanes are coming in ranked number 3 in the country. Florida State dropped to number 18, which I think was absolutely preposterous. It makes absolutely no sense. The fact that this team could beat Alabama as easily as they did, and then they lose to Virginia on the road on a Friday night to a 4-1 team in double overtime. I mean, you act like they got drop kicked at Virginia. These voters are out of their minds. I can't say I'm surprised. In fact, I expected it to happen. I expected FSU to drop 10 spots because of how these voters treat the ACC. It's pretty simple. They treat the ACC with massive levels of disrespect. You beat Alabama, you lose to Virginia, but Alabama's ranked in the top 10 or top 11, and Florida State drops to number 18. Does that make sense? Not at all. And we all know the committee looks at head-to-head matchups. So if the committee was to actually rank these two teams, Florida State would probably be ranked ahead of Alabama. But that's not the case. So, of course, this game is ranked number 3 versus number 18 when it should be number 3 probably versus about number 13 or 12. But it is what it is. So what are the 3 keys to this game? The 3 keys that I point out specifically. And obviously there's a lot more things that are involved. Don't turn the ball over. Don't do this. Don't do that. Don't waste timeouts. 3 critical components, the main 3 components to the Miami Hurricanes beating Florida State. Number 1, look at the depth chart on that offensive line. Look at that offensive line for the Miami Hurricanes. The offensive line for the Miami Hurricanes is big, strong, physical. You got James Brockermeyer at center, Markel Bell, who's the size of a mountain at left tackle, Matthew McCoy at left guard, Inez Cooper at right guard, and Francis Magoa at right tackle. You also have Samson Ukinlola in the mix. And you have an offensive line that is, for lack of better words, dominant. Physical, strong, aggressive. They want to knock you on your ass. And that's a good thing to have when you have an offensive line. An O-line that wants to knock you off on your ass. They like to run block. They like to put helmet on helmet. They like to push the pile. They like to create holes for Marty Brown and for Mark Fletcher to get through. They enjoy it. They relish it. Inez Cooper, after that game against Florida, I mean, man, he had so much to say about Cormani McClain. My goodness, I was so excited listening to that stuff. That was beautiful. That was beautiful. Miami's offensive line is the number 1 key to this victory. More than anything. Because Miami's offensive line is going to dictate where this game goes. Miami's offensive line is going to dictate if Miami runs the ball. Miami's offensive line is going to dictate if Carson Beck has time to throw. And Miami's offensive line is going to dictate time of possession. I think by now we've seen that Miami is not looking to air it out, that Mario Cristobal likes death by 1,000 cuts. He wants to bludgeon you like a typical offensive lineman. He wants to beat you down. He wants to make you feel pain on every play. That offensive line is the key to pain on every play. That offensive line is the key to the running game. That offensive line is the key to time of possession. The Florida Gators came into Miami having averaged over 35 minutes with the ball in their games. In fact, they had the ball for 37 minutes against LSU in their loss. Against Miami, Miami had the ball 37 minutes. Florida had the ball 23 minutes. Miami's offensive line will dictate the pace, the tempo, and where this game goes. It's very, very simple. And as Florida State decides to leave that 3-3-5 defense and says we have to flood the box, well, guess what? Now Miami's offensive line gets the pass block and give Carson Beck the time to pick FSU apart down the field. I am curious to see how much Miami might do some play action, some screen passes. But I really want to see Miami go down the field a little bit. They really need to stretch the field a bit, keep FSU honest. But it all starts at the offensive line. The offensive line is what it is. It all starts with them big hogs up front, bro. This is old school football. Miami's not playing that aired out football. They're playing that old school punch you in the mouth football. And sometimes that punch you in the mouth football gets you big plays. Other times it takes 15 plays. But what it does do to the defense is it wears the defensive line out. And the Florida State defensive line got the crap kicked out of it by Virginia last week. They got the crap kicked out of them. Florida State's defensive line is not putting pressure on the quarterback. Their front four only has a combined 2 sacks. The front four for the Florida State Seminoles has a combined 2 sacks. 2. Like, seriously. James Williams has no sacks. Darrell Jackson, former Miami Hurricane, he has 1 sack. Daniel Lyons has 1 sack. And Jason Jenkins has no sacks. So your front four for Florida State has a combined 2 sacks. They don't get a lot of pressure. And they got blown off the ball by Virginia pretty much the entire game. And what happens when they blow them off the ball is, guess what? I know Mario Cristobal talked about how the defensive backs for Florida State tackle very well. Yeah, they kind of have to because their defensive line is getting blown off the ball. They had the 3 top tacklers for Florida State last week had over 30 combined tackles. They all had over 10 tackles. Your DBs should not be leading your team in tackles. If that's the case, it's because your guys they're tackling people 6 yards down the field. Constantly. So that offensive line against that defensive line, Miami has to win that matchup. They have to dominate that matchup. That's key number 1. Number 2, I think it's obvious, the second one, because like I said, it's very, very similar. It's very similar to what we talked about in Florida. The defensive line has to come with that same swarming, violent energy, the excitement, 6, 7, 8, 9 hats to the ball. But it starts up front with Ruben Bain and Akeem Mesidor. They have the most dominant defensive line in the country. They're the number 1 rated defensive line in the country by PFF. I saw it a little bit earlier. I think it was 93.4. The number 1 defensive line in the nation. And looking at it right here. Highest graded this season, Power 4, Miami 93.5, Texas Tech 91.6, Louisville 91.3, Indiana 89.7, Pittsburgh 89.1, Missouri 87.5. Miami has number one rated defensive line in America, and they got to play that way on Saturday night. They got to play exactly how they played against Florida. They have to be violent, physical, aggressive, get pressure, put Thomas Castellanos on his ass over and over and over. They need to bring pain to that man every single play. He has to feel them at all times. They cannot take one single play off because he has the ability with his legs to create stuff when you take a play off. So I think that is an absolute critical component to this game. And if that defensive line plays the way it played against the University of Florida, Miami's going to win this game big. They're going to win big. It'll be a rout. So obviously, once again, these are very, very simple things. This is old school. Sock them in the mouth, smash mouth football. Offensive line, defensive line. It's crazy. I'm a Hurricane, man. Hurricane fan and a Hurricane for my whole life. And we always predicated our offense on passing the ball. Airing it out. Flash, pisas, champagne. Scarface right there. The flash pisas. This ain't, nah, man. We're going Nebraska 1995. That's what we look like. We looking like Nebraska 1995. Punch them in the face. Make them feel you. Beat them down. Make them feel pain. Miami has a deeper defensive line than Florida State has a defensive line. Florida State got a good offensive line. I'm not going to take it away from them. They have a veteran offensive line. They got their five starters on the offensive line are all seniors. They're all senior transfers from Gunnar Hansen, Richie Leonard IV, Luke Pettibon, Adrian Medley, and Micah Pettis. All of them seniors. It's a big group. It's an experienced group. But they didn't fare too well against Virginia. And while they did run the ball, Miami's not Virginia. Miami's not Kent State. Miami's not East Texas A&M. Miami is by far the best defense that Florida State will have seen this season. And Miami's off defense line has to bring the ruckus to that offensive line. Now, the final thing, the third one, like I said, there's a bunch of keys, but these are my three main ones. Contain Thomas Castellanos. Very simple. Not very simple, but very simple. Not complicated. I expect the Miami Hurricanes to have Mohamed Toure spying him the entire game. I expect that to happen because if you spy him and you keep him in the pocket, well, guess what? He's not going to have a whole lot of opportunity. He's a 5'10" quarterback who tries to throw the ball in between windows. He can't see down the field all that well. He doesn't complete passes at a very high clip. So if you put pressure on him, he's going to airmail some stuff or short arm some stuff, and it's going to leave it right there for guys to make picks. This will be the first game where the Miami Hurricanes have a real opportunity to make some plays in the defensive backfield. This is the first game where they're really going to have that opportunity because he's going to try to get chunk plays. Castellanos will throw the ball down the field. The defensive backs have got to be on their P's and Q's. They got to be ready to roll. But spying on Thomas Castellanos, to me, is a critical thing. You have to keep him in line, keep him in check, and do not let him escape the pocket. Look, Florida State's going to score. You got to accept that. This won't be a 26-7 game. You're not going to shut them down. They're going to get some points, but you have to limit them, and you have to put them in a position to where they're chasing you. What you cannot have happen in this game is that Florida State jumps out ahead. You do not want Florida State jumping out ahead. They are a front-running ass team, and you can see it. They are front runners. The second they had a little bit of adversity versus Virginia, you can see the difference. That adversity put some that adversity was problematic for Florida State. The fact that Thomas Castellanos after the game said, we needed that. You needed to lose in game 4? Your heads got that big that you needed to lose in game 4? That's illogical and ridiculous. But they're going to score some points. I don't think they're going to score a ton of points, but they're going to score some points. They're going to move the ball. But Miami's got to jump out on top of them first. Miami has to get that lead early and handle business. But handling business will be containing Thomas Castellanos. Of course, there's a lot of other things. You don't turn the ball over. You don't turn the ball over. You play clean. You're golden. You make your field goals. You execute your punts. You have good coverage on special teams. You're good. Nothing's perfect. Nothing perfect. But those are the three main things. You hit those three main things. Lights out, baby. Lights out. Y'all let me know y'all thoughts in the comments. What do you think? What do you think of the three keys to this game? The most important three things. Like I said, those are my three most important things. There's a lot of things, but those are my three most important things. So y'all let me know y'all thoughts in the comments. Let me know what keep this in mind. FSU's defensive line has some young players in the second line. Their backups are young. They got a sophomore, they got a freshman, they got freshmen playing on their defensive line who are in the mix, including a couple of kids from South Florida. So it is absolutely critical that you put your stamp on their ass early on and not play around. So y'all let me know y'all thoughts. Let me know what y'all top three things are. And I love to hear what you got to say. We are 2 days away, man. 2 days away, man. I cannot wait. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell, leave a comment. This is Hurricanes Unfiltered, powered by Come On Now, the podcast. Come on now.